because I realized that the journey hadn't ended when we got back to the States, and we wanted to imply sexual activity. I'd learned my lesson from the fiasco in season 3, episode 14. That was the last time both of my parents and I would ever take a Christmas photo together. Have you ever wanted to make something more meaningful, but you just weren't sure where to start? Today's lesson is making something meaningful often starts by making it personal. Now that my first semester of college was over, I could finally turn my focus back to Carpe Diem, and winter break meant there was a chance to work with all 4 of the main actors again. Selena flew in from London to LAX, and on the morning of December 16th, we boarded Amtrak's Coast Starlight train from Union Station to Salinas. I'd learned my lesson from the fiasco in season 3, episode 14, so this time I went to the right place. Union Station's size and architecture reminded me of the massive train stations we'd seen in Europe, and reminded me of one of the main lessons from Carpe Diem itself.
We didn't have to travel halfway across the world to have an amazing adventure. We just need to go out and find it for ourselves.
That made me happy because I realized that the journey hadn't ended when we got back to the States. It had just changed locations. I was still exploring new places, making new memories, meeting new people. But now I was thousands of miles closer to home, and it cost hundreds of dollars instead of thousands. I'd ridden trains all over Europe, but that was my first time on one in the US. Sure, it was slower, but the view of the California coast was absolutely incredible. And I got to see cities that I'd have an important connection to later in life. Cities like Burbank, Van Nuys, San Luis Obispo, and Paso Robles, almost like I was getting a hint into my own future. I spent the 17th pre-producing, making sure everything was prepared for the scenes we wanted to shoot. That meant actors, props, costumes, and making sure the script was exactly the way I wanted it, so the actors could start to memorize their lines. Fun fact! Selena and I had both been hired to work on the same horror motion pictures project that winter, a film called Camp Hero Time. So on the 18th we went location scouting, but I'll get into that project in the season finale. On December 19th, we took photos in front of the Christmas tree with my family. It might not sound that special, just a typical Christmas photo in front of the tree, right? Little did I know, that was the last time both of my parents and I would ever take a Christmas photo together. It's a little bittersweet, but moments like that remind you that you almost never know what the future holds. So please, remember that each moment is precious, and maybe take one more picture. Anyway, on December 20th, we got back to shooting Carpe Diem, just over 6 months after we'd gotten the very first shot on June 14th, 2012, back in season 2, episode 2. I'd wanted to show some of the realities of long-distance dating, so we started with a scene in which Selena's character Julia has a Skype call with Ross, played by me. The late afternoon beams of sunlight in my room worked very well for lighting that scene. And for my low-budget filmmakers out there, I had the idea to set the camera on an office chair that swiveled in order to get a smooth pan. And that worked really well, so definitely a trick worth keeping in your low-budget toolkit. As for props, Selena had written her character name and address on an envelope for the infamous letter, and the laptop she's seen with is actually the computer that did about half of the editing for Carpe Diem. I think it turned out really well, and once we got that shot, we moved to a different room in the house and got my character's coverage of the same scene in just one take. I intentionally made the lighting significantly different to show the realism that it might be daytime for one of us and nighttime for the other, because of that 8-hour time difference between California and London. After that, we went back to my bedroom and shot scene 31, part 1, which was Ross discovering the letter at Julia's flat in London. The sun was setting by then, so I closed the curtains and was easily able to get the nighttime look that we needed for that scene. I got on the bed this time, but we used the same camera pan on the office chair that we did in the previous scene, hoping that the audience might subconsciously remember that location, that camera movement, and kind of connect the moment back to the Skype scene, the last time the letter had appeared in the movie. And just like many of the scenes we shot overseas, I was able to channel real emotions into my performance, because just as my character Ross was becoming uncertain about their relationship's future once he read the letter, I had become uncertain about our actual relationship's future after finding out Selena would not be moving back to the US. This scene with the letter was supposed to take place immediately after this moment, and we wanted to imply sexual activity, but we also wanted this movie to be PG-13. So our way around that was to cut to the towel with a voiceover that she was going to shower, and then show me lying in Julia's bed shirtless. That way, no one appeared nude on camera, but it gave Ross an opportunity to be in eyesight of the letter without Julia in the room. The 2 scenes we shot that day gave the backstory for this line.
I found the letter the last night we stayed at your apartment.
And made this moment hit harder.
I'm sorry. I should have realized that you wouldn't have abandoned me.
It shows the audience that Ross knows Julia has been lying to her, and yet he chooses not to have that conversation until later. That was my main reason for shooting more scenes. Not just to pad the runtime, but to add additional meaning and emotional impact to what we'd already shot. I knew that we had something rare, something unique in this almost autobiographical film about 4 teenagers going on a backpacking trip around Europe, and I wanted to give it the care it deserved and respect the time and effort we'd put into it by bringing this film up to the highest level that I could. Reflecting on it now, those scenes weren't just about a letter or a Skype call. They were about capturing the moments you can't get back. A long-distance couple on a cross-country train ride. A final family photo on Christmas. The last time someone believed things might still work out. It reminded me that, just like I'm trying to show in this series, that meaningful stories don't come from expensive equipment or perfect conditions. They come from pieces of your own life that you're willing to put on the screen. And by making Carpe Diem more personal, I made the emotions more powerful. Storytime. The day after the shoot was December 21st, 2012, the day that some people believed the world would end based on the Mayan calendar. Obviously, that didn't happen. But just like during Y2K, some people panicked, and a few really did kill themselves that day, believing it was actually the end. My friends and I weren't buying it. We went to Chili's instead. We didn't expect the apocalypse, but the whole end of the world vibe did make us reflect on the high school and college adventures we'd had, the things we'd learned, how we'd changed, and what we were grateful for. It ended up being a great night, all in all, and I actually wrote down a couple quotes from the stories we shared. Since this has been kind of a serious episode, I want to end on a lighter note, so here's the first of 2 quotes. He texted me that we should have raunchy sex in the back of his car. It didn't happen, but we did go to his car, so I'm not entirely sure why it didn't. Either way, I have big plans for my uterus. She texted me that she had to print out an essay, and also that she was horny, but didn't want to stay up late. I hit 105 on the drive over, in a minivan. You know how hard it is to hit 105 in a minivan? Pretty f***ing hard, just like I was that night. But looking back on it, she either slept with me so she could use my printer, or used my printer as an excuse to sleep with me. Honestly, I think the first one's worse. That's just cheap prostitution. Oh, and she wouldn't let me do anal. Said it would ruin the acoustics of her farts. Anyway, tune in next week to learn about the web series I assistant directed during my first winter break home from college, and the email I got about it that made me really angry.
I'm gonna take a shower. I'll see you in a bit.
Okay, I'll be here. Dear Mrs. Williams, congratulations. After carefully reviewing your application to our company, we're excited to say that you've been offered a position as one of the main performers. If you decide to accept, you will have 30 days to sign our 3-year contract.